Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender in Europe, game designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. This is the East Front series, East Front first, I should say. We are getting ready to go into January of 1943. Bring up the buttons, and away we go. This is me demonstrating that you can go here and here to set numbers on the these boxes. It's always been there. I just never really pointed it out to anybody. I thought people would figure it out, but I was asked if there was a way to do that, and it's like that's the only way there is. There isn't just a button that you can say reset, but at least you can do that. So no one declared war. We go into economies. The Germans are going to end up with 32 and give one to the Italians. The British have 26. The Russians have 36, but give one to the Turks. Then we go into strategic warfare. Due to 9 conquered countries by the Germans, the Russians are at +3. The Germans are at +1 because they have Stavanger over here now. So there is that. I think we went to combat commitment. He chose not to. I did. So I throw out a partisans to have the German die roll. He rolled a 5 + 1, half down to a 3. The Russians rolled really well, so chipped him off a factory. And my partisans came back in 5 turns. Then the Western Allies are at +5 because they have 3 bombed markers in Germany, +2 for the Americans. So they're at an advantage. The Germans are still at +1 because they haven't taken Brest from me yet. I'm slowly but surely being pushed back, but trying to hang on to it for as long as possible to keep him from getting that +2. I think we go to combat commitment. Yes. Like a no-brainer. So out come my Ultra, his subs. And so he rolls a 3 + 1 is a 2. 4, half to 2. But I rolled a 1, +5 is a 6, half to a 3. So 2 to a 3 is a diamond. So he gets back his factory. His subs will come back in 4 turns. My Ultra will come back in 2. And then we go to strategic movement. Get this stuff out of the way. He goes and moves this guy. Moves the Africa army way over here to Russia. Originally, he tried to go there, and I said, my zones of control all the hexes that you would have to go through that, because I'm now active. So he's like, oh, okay. So then he put it here, and that's actually worse for me, because now the guy in Kharkov cannot be retreated, and since it's severe, that's the best I can get. So he's going to hang on to Kharkov for at least another turn or 2. And I did kind of the same thing. I looked at it from a standpoint of, I could move this guy up to where that airplane is, but why waste the production point? I'll just rail him up there. So I can use him next turn. Okay. Thought about doing something with the Russians, decided not to. Axis operations. So now he moves his airplane that was in Rome, moves down here to the tip of Sicily. The Italian Air Force is on the move. Then he takes the fleet that's in Benghazi and the convoy that's there, and I don't bother to intercept because I don't have the Americans that could intercept over on that side have 3 sorties, and at poor weather they'd be at a net -3, which means I'd need a 6 to inflict 2 sorties, and I wouldn't be able to get to the convoy and stop it. So either way, he goes on his way. So there's no point. He does the same thing. He takes the infantry out of Cagliari in Sardinia and puts it down here in Benghazi along with the fleet and convoy, and I let him go. It's like I'm going to try and interdict the supply with my British fleet because it's the only one that really can do anything as far as sorties go, because it's starting at, well, -1 sortie, so I have a chance with it, but not with the Americans. I can't get through can't get through the escort and affect the convoy with the Americans. So then he flew his airplane from up here, from up there in come on, move, bar. So he flies from the tip of Sicily there on down into Algeria. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then he moves this infantry back a couple spaces, and he's done with that. Then he moves the garrison that's in Caligari, or in Genoa, to Caligari with his fleet. I say, go right ahead. And his fleet ends in Catania. And then the German infantry unit comes rolling down the rail line, takes a swim in the ocean, and ends up in Genoa. Really, technically, he went down the rail line, but need a little comic relief there. Now for serious assault here in the west on Nents. So he's, I think we're going to combat commitment, which was like, we don't have to think about that. Okay? We knew everybody was going to commit. So I threw in my airplane. He threw in his tanks in his airplane, but forgot to put his tanks on the board. We went ahead and did the air combat. We're both at -3 because of the weather and the sorties. And he rolled before I got to the -3, so his 1 there is not a 1+1. It should have been a 1 -3, which we net a 1. I still needed to roll like a 6, which I didn't do. So we each took a sortie. We each got our air combat in. So then I'm 1 for British, 1 for armor, 1 for air. And we go do his. Well, he started off at there. He's +3 for the armor, 2 for German, 1 for armor, and then 2 for an armored unit, 2 for a buddy, 1 from an airplane, -1 for the city, -1 for the weather, +6, +3. And he rolled a 3 + 6 was a 9. I rolled a 1 + 3 is a 4, so that's a retreat. So away I go. And then he moves in and takes Nants with his armored. Oh, that was us getting the bomb markers out of Germany. I'm not sure what he's moving. Oh, then he moved the German aircraft down to Palermo. That was up in northern Italy. Then he was looking to see where he could cover his bombed markers for my bombers, and that's the best hex, by the way. 2722 is a prime spot for a German fighter. It covers majority of your factories with at least 1 shot at hitting the bombers. And then now we go moving Yugoslavs over here in the east. He does some moving around of the miners here in the south. He goes down to back up the garrison unit. The Romanian runs away. He's going to go garrison Odessa. And then he moves his armored unit up to where the Romanian was to make his line a bit stiffer. Then he moves that Romanian to get in the port. He was looking to see if there was a way he could put his airplane where I couldn't ground strike it and still cover his ground units. And I said, by the math, that's very hard to do because I can ground strike at 7 and you can air support only at 5. So in the end, he just said, yeah, at his +2, it's still going to take most of 2 airplanes to knock out 1 of his in fair weather. So, and I think he was done. Oh no, he wasn't quite done. We end up coming down here to do supply. Fingers. Oh, nope, there it is. The Yugoslav goes running over to the Italian border. Can't move into Italy, but at least it can be on the border to slow down any nonsense I might have. Then he moves the armored unit down here to Brindisi. He had to think about where he really wanted it and ended up just putting it in Brindisi. And then we thought we were done. He did his supply up here in Oslo. Keep his airplane in supply. Now we're doing the Italian supply out of Benghazi. I think he goes after the 10th first. He wanted to do Tobruk, and I said you can't because of zones of control. And so he went ahead and tried to do... I think he does his infantry first, his 10th, which I let go through. And then he tried to do his airplane, and that's when I come after him. Because he's at like -5 and I'm at -1. So I get a 4 -1 is a 3. So he gets 2 sorties on his fleet. And then I'm -2 to his -6 or something. And I only rolled a 3, -2, got him through. So his airplane stayed in supply. And then he went and did his, pretty sure he goes ahead and does another escorted convoy sortie to get the infantry unit that's in Benghazi. So then we go over to the west. And here I was trying to figure out how much coverage he had with his airplanes, who could attack me where. And I saw this little itty-bitty line gap here. And I was like, oh, look. My bombing marker out of London sails down this gap and goes into Metz. And he can't stop me because he's +2 for German, -2 for weather, and -5 for sorties. So he couldn't roll a die that would actually get me a DR. So he didn't bother. He just saved the sortie, and I didn't bother to add any extras because I want to be down to 3 sorties next turn in the hopes that I can, bomb maybe 2 cities a turn from now on. So the Americans get over here with some bombers. And then I moved the Canadian. The reason why I had to back up, jeez, Pete. The reason why I have to move the Canadian here, if I stay there, the 2nd Panzer could move up with the 1st Panzer. If they get me to retreat, they'd be 3 to 1 and halved. If they get me to retreat, I would have to retreat back to, just to show you, if he's here, then my only retreat route is to there, and then this infantry unit can just go boom, 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 boom. So not a good thing for the British to let that happen. So instead I go, oops. I go there. And then I think I go down here I move the American airplane up to Tunis. It takes a sortie to do that. And then I just counter the German. Because I'll be at 3 sorties, he'll be at 4, so I should be able to, in poor weather, keep the German aircraft from getting in my way. And then I move the American army up so that it's actually in a fleet that can invade. Maybe. Put the British into Casablanca to help with supply. Then I move the 2nd RAF up to Tripoli. And then we go fight an air battle. I'm at net -1. And he's at -2. I rolled a 4, -1 is a 3. Rolled a 3, -1 is a 2, so I only took 1 sortie each. I'm at -2, he's at -3. And I rolled good, I got a 6, -2 is a 4. 1 -2 is a 1, so he gets 2 sorties that time. And I just go ahead and run him up. And then move the BEF up. And we attack. We do have to go to combat commitment each time. But he was pretty much damned about saving his armored unit for Tobruk. So even though we go there, he never really commits. So I'm now +3 to his 0. I rolled a 1, +3 is a 4. He rolled a 2, +3 is a 5. So, no, it wasn't a 2 +3. He didn't roll the defender die, he rolled the attacker die. So it looked like he rolled a 2 +3, but that's actually an attacker die. It should have been defender die, which would have been a straight 2. So a 4 to a 2 was a retreat, so he caught it and retreated. And then that was combat commitment again. I threw in a tanks. And I got a 2 +3 is a 5. And again, he rolled a 2, so he's just retreated. So then the last attack, or second to last attack, I threw in my airplane to give me +3 to 0 again. I got again a 2 +3 is a 5, and then he got a 4. So then I attacked again, just hoping to get a flip. The idea is if I can flip his infantry, even this late, it'll screw up his supply stuff because Italy only has 9 points. So that's basically the airplane and 2 convoys is all he can do. And if I flip over an infantry, then he wouldn't even be able to do that. So it's the idea. And I rolled 2 + 1 is a 3, so I can't do anything to him, and he rolls a 6. So he just stays in his hex. Then we go over here to the to Tobruk, and we both knew that everything was going to be put in. So we just went ahead and added it up. I am +1 for British, +2 for armor, +2 for isolation, so that's 5, +1 buddies, +2 from an airplane, 6, 7, 8, and then -1 for the city, and then he is starts off as -2 because he's out in low supply, and then adds 2, so he's at a 0. I rolled a 3 +7, and I'm halved because I'm attacking a fort, so I'm a 5, and he rolled a 4. If he could have get him to roll 1, 2, or 3, then he would have been flipped, and then because he's in low supply, he can't be replaced, and then I would have a chance to annihilate him next turn. As it is, he's probably going to be able to survive at no supply, because he'll only be halved, and then he'll be able to take him off and not lose the will point. He's going to lose Tobruk either way. No reason to lose a will point for the infantry as well. We both kind of came to the conclusion, oh, yeah, this was me. My airplane had range to get to his convoy, so I just went and took another sortie because his convoy couldn't stop me and just ran it up. Again, trying to mess with his supply. And I think... Oh, this is me doing supply, I think. I did the one in Brest without escort, and then I did the one in Casablanca, and he chose not to intercept me. I'm not sure which... Oh, that was the U.S. airplane. He chose not to intercept that one. I thought he would intercept the airplanes, but he didn't. And then... And then I did the convoy for the British airplane, and that's the one he wanted to intercept. He wasn't worried about the American airplane as much as the British airplane. So he went after this one with his... He has a surface attack marker still. So his surface action would be +1, -2 for the weather. So he should be at -1. And I am +2 because I'm American, -2 for the weather. So I should be at a net -4. And then we roll, and he rolled a 1. So, okay. And then I rolled a 1. So it's like, okay, he's coming back in 2 turns, and I got my supply through for the British Air Force. And then I think I just ran up the... Ran the Americans up to supply the BEF. And like that. And then over here in the Med, I just 2 sorties on each convoy in Egypt and Alexandria, Suez and Alexandria. And that's everybody in supply. We go over to the Soviets. There's a whole lot of attacks, very low, +2 to +2, can I outroll them type attacks. So that's what you're going to see a lot of. 6 to a 3, but we're both halved, so nothing happens. I go here, do this way, against the 10th, or the 18th. And I realized that I couldn't retreat him, so that was kind of a bad move on my part. But it didn't matter. Then I do on the 5th Panzer, because he doesn't have any pluses, he's just a +2 guy. So +2 to +2, and roll badly. Unfortunately, in most of these attacks, you have to get like a +3 split to retreat them or something stupid like that. So it's, because you're halved, it's very hard to do anything, and at best you're going to get a retreat. So I went over here to the Yugoslavs, tried to get them to retreat, and he actually plays a ground support against me there. So I'm +2 to +1. I roll a 3, he rolls a 7, half those, nothing happens. And then he rolled a 2 to get his ground support back. And then I attack to the north with 3 units. So I'm +3 to +2. And I roll a 2 + 3 is a 5, half to 2.5 becomes a 3, and he rolls a 6 + 2 is an 8, half down to a 4. So, and then I move up my army, my infantry, to kind of fill in the line there and attack the Romanians, on a whim at +1 to 0, and he does not play his ground support here. I rolled a 6 + 1 is a 7, half to 3.5 becomes a 4. He rolled a 3, half to 1.5 becomes a 2. So I actually took a hex, made the Romanians retreat. Of course, I'm probably going to lose that infantry unit because it's got nowhere to retreat to. I thought about moving that infantry unit, and I said, wait a minute, I think I want to put this armored unit across the river. For future, he'd have a better attack. And right now, unless he does something, the armored unit is technically out of supply, so he's got to move somebody like to 3153 to keep the rail line open. So there is that. Then I think I move that infantry down to cover the river. Move this tank's army up here to be around Kharkov. He's got the same kind of problem in Kharkov. The Panzer, the 3rd Panzer and the Nor infantry in Kharkov, neither one can move back because I have them surrounded with zones of control, so they have to fight their way out. And I mean, that's about the best I can do with the Soviet army at this point. And I think I just fill in the lines here. Yep, and I'm done. I did stop at the no replacement phase with the Axis and pointed out to him, this is the point where you would take off airplanes that are in a place where you don't think you can, don't want to spend the points to move them back. It's cheaper to just take them off, wait a turn, and spend the 3 to put them back with 4 sorties. Rather than spend 3 to put on 4 sorties, then they have to fly away, and then you have to spend 3 again to make them useful, so that kind of thing. Got to replacements for the Axis. He was basically able to replace all of his airplanes. So he does the one in Sicily, the one in France, the one in Germany, the one in Norway. Looked around a bit and then did the convoy up here. And that was it. That's all he had. And then we went on to... and then we had to go do we started off with the Russians. I said, wait, you didn't do your Italians. It's like, you're right. So he has 9 points left with the Italians. So first thing he does is gets his airplane back since it was in supply. And then the next thing he does is he does this convoy in Benghazi to give him a chance at some supply. Then he does the convoy in Katina, and I have a feeling he's going to try to do a swap, pull the 4-point guy out, and bring the 1-point guy down so he has more chances. Maybe he can't bring the fleet down because his fleet's at 6 and can't move. So it'll still be a naked convoy trying to do supply in February. Just we'll have more sorties, so it might succeed. So we got to the west, and the British go, well, there's 3. And they only had 19. I started off with 19, so there was 3. And I did the fleet, and that's supposed to be the convoy, so that should be 6. 9. And then 4 is 13. And then 16, and then I ended up doing this convoy Still not sure that that was the right move. I might have been better off doing the airplane that's outside of Tobruk, but we'll see. That's my 19 points. Then I do the Americans. They get 2 sorties. They get 2 sorties. They get 2 sorties. They get, and then this is me doing these guys down here. They get 2 sorties. So, no upgrades for the Axis. The Russians do have an upgrade. They have a couple upgrade units, I think. Why is my thing not? There we go. So we're going to come over here. We'll see things suddenly disappear and transform themselves. So, first thing to disappear is that tank army. The 3rd tank goes away and becomes the 1st Guards tank. And then the 4th Infantry, and I think it's the 62nd. No, whoever that was. The 12th disappears, and the 1st guy I took off becomes the 5th Guards. I wanted to have a Guards army sitting in that mountain hex to kind of, if the weather breaks later on in the year, I need to have a Guards army to kind of corral that Panzer and keep it from running amok going eastward. I wanted to run amok going westward. I wanted to head back towards Romania and Poland and those places. So, the Axis didn't have anything to mobilize. The West didn't. The Russians had 5 points to build, and they had the points to do it, so they did. They have an airplane and an armored unit, and I wasn't sure where to put the armored unit, but I put it in Bryansk, and then I felt like I needed an airplane down here because he has a Panzer down here, and I needed it to help possibly defend against whatever counterattacks that he's going to try to pull off, which I'm sure he's going to. And nobody's talking because we're no chance for victory phase. We just go to the end of turn phase. I don't think anything really spectacular happens here. There's no big things. Nope. And then he gets his Italian, German tanks, and submarines. So he should be able to keep himself at full supply. You know, don't play the submarines on the Russians, and if the Russians take one away from you, play them on the Allies who are +3 to your +2, and you should be able to keep yourself at full supply. Excuse me, or downright close to it. So the next thing we do is the final thing we do every turn. We go ahead and we play up the weather die roll here. Change it to the weather phase, and I rolled a 3, 6, and a 1. The 6 is really bad for him. 3 in the cold is poor. Well, that's good for the Russians, because poor weather I can muster like a +4 or 5 on a hex. In like 2 places, or maybe 3. In the mild zone, it's a 6, so that's a severe, and that really hurts him up here in France, because all he can do is retreat me. So that means, even if the 2 armor move up and retreat me at +3 to +1, retreats me into Brest, the best he can do is get an infantry unit up there and be +3 to +1, which is a retreat, which means I'd be flipped, and I can spend the points to flip him over and hold on to Brest for at least 1 more turn, maybe 2, depending on how the die rolls go. So it might be March or April before he finally kicks me out of there, and that'll be just barely in time for him to send the Panzers back for the fair weather in Russia. So that could be rather interesting. I'm looking forward to this. This is a very interesting situation to be in from the Allied point of view. And I think it's an interesting position from the Germans, too, because you have to come up with a long defense, Game's going to go to August of 46, or July of 46, because I held out to August of 1941 with the Russians. I think when an East First campaign, if you can do that with the Russians, you're doing well. And then end of log files, start new log files. No, we're done. So that's it. That's January of 1943 of the East First campaign series. As always, I'm Jan43. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Please hit the like button on the YouTube channel, because that helps the algorithms in YouTube to keep this up when people go searching for this game. These videos will pop up. The more likes it has, the YouTube says, oh, people must be looking for that thing because it has so many likes. So it's just to help people find the game easier. Okay, until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye.